Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Unfiltered commentary. Not your truth, the real truth. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for your support. Welcome back. And here we go. Taliban kill women for not wearing burqa on same day it vows to honor women's rights. You know, to all the feminists out there that voted for Joe Biden, you got what you voted for. Now what's going to happen to all these poor, literally millions of women in Afghanistan? Oh, well. This is what happens when you vote against a president instead of for one. If you don't like Donald Trump, okay, that's your prerogative. If you can't stand him strongly, again, that's your prerogative. But how could you not have foreseen all the things that have happened in the last 6 months and still voted for him anyway? In fact, I wish I had a big enough YouTube channel, for those of you that didn't like Donald Trump, to do a write-in campaign nationwide called Write In None of the Above. Okay, that's your right. Every place, I live in upstate New York, in this county, and every county in New York, and I believe every county in the country is a spot for a write-in on all elections, no matter if it's local or national. But you chose not to do that. Okay. Actions have consequences. Look at these dudes. Look like they're going to be mindful of women's rights. Taliban fighters shot and killed a woman for not wearing a burqa in Afghanistan Tuesday. The same day the group pledged to usher in a new inclusive era in the country that honors women's rights. A photo emerged of a woman in Takhar province lying in a pool of blood with loved ones crouched around her after she was killed by insurgents for being in public without a head covering. The killing came amid outfit's version of a charm offensive. Charm offensive. After its swift takeover, I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh because it's serious. But it's so absurd. You can't help it sometimes. After its swift takeover of the country in absence of U.S. troops, who had been propping up allied military groups since shortly after the 2011-2001 attacks. Now, those of you that have said, well, you know, like Biden said, I'll be respectful, President Biden. How can you defend a country whose army won't defend itself? The Afghan army just gave up, dropped their weapons, and walked away. Okay. Did you leave part of the story out? Is not telling the whole truth the same as lying? Yeah. Most of them, if not all of them, haven't been paid on and off for months, many sporadically. Food was in very short supply. You're in the army. Getting paid and having food is important. And third, ammunition and supplies. Here you are facing fierce fighters, and the Taliban in many cases were fierce fighters. It's not a praise of them as human beings. It's just the way it was. They are. And you were getting killed by the hundreds. Meanwhile, you weren't getting paid, fed properly, or had enough ammunition. So when you're faced against these guys, what do you think is going to happen? Taliban spokesman held a news conference to say that the insurgents would honor women's rights within the highly restrictive Sharia law. The militants urged women to return to school and work, and another Taliban spokesman granted a televised interview for a female journalist. Well, that seals it. That seals it. They're going to look out for female rights. God, it's really that simple. He also vowed to grant amnesty to Afghans who work with a now toppled government architected by the U.S. And there's the Taliban spokesperson, whose name I have no clue how to pronounce. Rights will be afforded to women with Islamic law when he spoke during a press conference on August 17th. These guys are very media savvy now, unlike the old days. There's a nice picture. Ladies, that's what you have to look forward to in Afghanistan. Thanks, Biden voters. I'm sure these ladies are saying, I want to thank our fellow women in the United States for voting for Joe Biden in such high numbers. We really, really appreciate it. Well, the Taliban ruled Afghanistan before 9/11 and prevented women and girls from leaving the house without a male chaperone, did not allow them to work or receive an education. Insurgents also vowed Tuesday not to interfere with the U.S.-led evacuation efforts of Westerners and their Afghan allies, but were instead reported to be controlling the entrances of the airport and attacking those who were trying to flee. Yeah, we're not going to interfere with the planes leaving. We're just not going to let anybody in. How great. There was kids, women, babies, old women that could barely walk. An Afghan former State Department contractor told Fox they are in a very, very bad situation. And I'm telling you, at the end, I was thinking there was like 10,000 or more than 10,000 people, and they're running to the airport. The Taliban were beating people, and the people were jumping from the fence, the concertina line, and also the wall. Elsewhere in Kabul, Taliban fighters were reported shooting guns as they patrolled neighborhood homes to activists and government workers, according to the report. Militants were looking for people who had helped the U.S. and had questioned the former defense contractor's neighbors about him, according to the report. Isn't that just grand? Oh, these women in Afghanistan, they are so grateful to their sisters in the United States for voting for Joe Biden. Actions have consequences. They always have. But did you think about that? He's too mean on Twitter. He said some bad things I didn't like. He called some illegals all kinds of names. And there's no such thing as an illegal person. Anybody can come here. He knows that. It's not against the law, as AOC said, as the head of Homeland Security at the time rattled off about 8 federal laws they were broken if you come here unlawfully. These people are clueless. What it's all about is flooding the country with illegals, in that case, so they can get permanent status and citizenship, and they can stay in power forever, or at least a generation. Let's just quickly jump here really quick to what Trump said. Calls Afghanistan collapse the most humiliating moment for U.S. And it was. Donald Trump said the worst humiliation in American history Tuesday while defending the agreement his administration struck. Well, you got to remember, while the elect agreement, I thought it was crap. It's probably the best agreement he could have gotten in the circumstances. And if you recall, in the last year and a half, not one American has died. It was a great thing they were getting out, but nobody has ever handled withdrawal worse. That's true. He can't get away from how it was done. He can't. Trump shut down for the first interview since the Taliban marched in Kabul Sunday, climaxing a 96-hour conquest that saw Afghans' major cities and provincial capitals fall with little resistance. Unbelievable. I knew the Afghan security forces, were going to fight. I said, why are they fighting? Why are these Afghan soldiers fighting against the Taliban? Trump recounted to host Sean Hannity. And I was told some very bad information by a lot of different people. The fact is, they're among the highest paid soldiers in the world. They were doing it for a paycheck because once we left, they stopped fighting. The fact is, our country is paying the Afghan soldiers a fortune. So we were sort of bribing them to fight, and that's not what it's about. In all fairness, I agree with that. I agree with most things President Trump say, but this one, the Afghan government let them down too. Let them down. And here we go, U.S. soldiers lower flag in Afghanistan as they had a base over the Afghan National Army. By contrast, Trump repeatedly praised the Taliban as good fighters, and at one point telling Hannity that you have to give them credit for that, and claimed he got along better with the Islamic fundamentalist and recently deposed Afghan president who fled the country as Taliban forces closed in. I never had a lot of confidence, frankly, in Ghani, the former president, recalled. I said that openly and plainly. I thought he was a total crook. I thought he got away with murder. He spent all the time whining and dining our senators. The senators were in his pocket. That was one of the problems that we had, but I never liked him, and I guess based on his escape with cash, I don't know. Maybe that's a true story. I would suspect it is. All you have to do is look at his lifestyle, study his houses where he lives, and he got away with murder in so many different ways. And you can stop the video here and read the rest of it if you like. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. As more grim news emerged from thousands of Americans stuck in Taliban territory with checkpoints between them and Kabul's international airport, Trump said the current situation in Afghanistan is many, many times worse than the hostage crisis which doomed the presidency of another Democrat, Jimmy Carter. I looked at that big monster cargo plane yesterday with people grabbing the side and trying to get flown out of Afghanistan because of their fear, their incredible fear, and they're blowing off the plane from 2,000 feet in the air, he said. Nobody's ever seen anything like that. That blows the helicopters in Vietnam away. It's not even a contest. This has been the worst humiliation period I've ever seen. And I agree 100%. And those of you that don't agree and think that Biden did a proper job, you're a tribalist. And I don't like people that follow everything Donald Trump say to the letter too, because it came from him. You have to take things as they come along. Biden effed this one up really badly. Now, did he do it personally? Was he in charge of the intelligence services? They were giving him information? No. But to tell you the truth, when Kabul fell, all of the big shot intelligent individuals, especially people in the administration that gave him this nonsense as far as strength to Taliban and what they should do, should all be fired. And their names publicly said. And even if he couldn't fire them, say the names out loud who either lied or didn't do their jobs. Now, is that blaming them for his F up? No, not really. But he still had to make the call. He still had to make the call. And things like this, when you're withdrawing from a country after 20 years, you have to assume the worst case scenario. He extended the deadline past May 1st for 3 months, and Taliban said enough. He should have had contingency plans put into place, even though he's offered dozens, I guess, from what I hear on different interviews with intelligence people, and he chose to do nothing. Absolutely nothing. And then, when the crap hit the fan, they were totally unprepared. How many tens of thousands of people who worked with the U.S. government and the military in the last 2 decades are now probably going to die a horrible death, and if not, their lives will be just horrendous for the rest of their lives. How many women will die? How many women's lives will be stripped from them? How many people will be beheaded? You're not going to find out, of course, because now it's a closed country. How many people are going to be tortured under Sharia law? And how many young girls now? If you're say you're 23 years old, and you're a young woman, and all you've known is the Americans there and the freedoms that you have since they've been there, and all of a sudden, in one day, they're gone. Your life is over for all intents and purposes. What are you going to do now? I showed in an earlier episode, the spokesman for the Department of State was talking about UN resolutions and all this other stuff and how the Security Council and the UN demanded the Taliban do this, demanded the Taliban do that. These people are crazy. Crazy and stupid, but they're also in charge. So now it makes it dangerous. This is just the beginning. We have another 3.5 years of this. And those of you that say Joe Biden won't last at 3.5 years, I agree. And Vice President Kamala Harris will become president, and the same exact F-ups will happen all over in many different categories. Repeatedly. I forget who the comic was I saw. They're being interviewed on a YouTube channel. He takes solace in the fact that the first female U.S. president wasn't elected. And I thought that was kind of funny. So all you feminists out there, all of you ones that called Donald Trump all kinds of names, he was the patriarchy, and he was this, and he was that, and he looks down on women, even though he hired thousands throughout his real estate career. Nobody paid any attention. Donald Trump's the bad guy, and we're going to vote for Biden. Not for Biden, just against Trump. This is what happens. You get an administration that's basically won by default. You think you got the best and brightest when you voted for Biden and his people? Think again. But you're going to turn around in 3 years and change and vote for Democrat again. And this coming next year in the midterms, all you tribalists, progressives, and leftists will either not vote, which I would prefer you do, but it's still your choice, or you'll vote for Democrats again. What is that? Definition of insanity? When you keep doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different turnout? That is by definition insanity. You Biden voters, you got what you want. How's it taste? Oh, the rest of us in the country are very grateful for your insight on how the future of this country will go, and in some cases the world is in this case. Thank you so much for your deep, deep concern to your fellow women, your sisters in this world. And until next time, goodbye and good luck.